that one night we lost 3 officers and a number of men. They all came wearing clothes and behaving like jihadis. And everybody, including the intelligence agencies, they told us that these are jihadis.
Wow.
These are not Pakistan Army. One of the assessment was that Pakistan is not capable of carrying out any offensive action.
What is the lesson on discipline that you got from this failure?
We are still learning lessons on that. When you have a procedure and you start neglecting it, it is lack of discipline.
When it is a collective failure, then how can there be accountability?
So many times I keep thinking, although we were told not to cross the line of control and international border, and I did mention it to the Prime Minister. So sometimes that regret is that I may have been able to do something. I felt that we have lost so many people out there, and we should teach them a good lesson.
If you're thinking about discipline in your life, then perhaps the best person to speak to is an army officer, but not just any army officer, perhaps a man who has seen some of those wars that have defined the history of our country or others. And today we have with us an extremely special guest. We're honored to be with General VP Malik, the man who oversaw the Kargil War, the victory for India. And I just want to start by saying, sir, thank you for having us in your home in Chandigarh. We are thrilled, we are honored, and I know that you told me when we first spoke about this that, hey, this is about discipline. How much will I be able to say? But when you think about your legacy, you think about Kargil, and everyone has to be told that immediately at the start of the interview, that if there's one lesson you've learned in terms of discipline from Kargil, what would that be?
You know, I think a major factor that went into our winning the Kargil conflict was the human behavior. We did not have much technology. And I always give full credit to our human resource, our Jawans, young leaders, and the way they conducted themselves, the kind of difficulty, the challenges that they faced. And, it's phenomenal, really. And they got us the victory. So I always give them credit first, that they were the one who was responsible. Now that kind of conduct in front of all the challenges that we had, not only of the mountains, high altitude mountains, but also of the kind of firing that was taking place from the heights where the adversary was.
Pointed down at us.
And pointing it down at us. I think that kind of a thing would not have been possible without discipline.
Institutional discipline.
Institutional discipline. And so when I think of the way they behaved, the way they conducted themselves, and they got us the victory that time, it is one of the major factor was the discipline that had been inculcated in them, in NDA, in IMA, in various institutions. And of course, at a certain stage, it is also self-discipline also comes into play. So from my point of view, discipline is a very important trait, I would say. And this is absolutely essential when you are working in a team or in an organization or as in a society or in a nation.
Yeah.
So the importance of discipline can never be ignored.
Yeah. You know, this podcast, as you know, is called Decisions. And while we are debating the importance of discipline, using your life story to explain to people that it's not just one word, it is so many different contours, nuances that are taught over generations, syllabuses, institutions teach them. For example, there were decisions you made during Kargil that were difficult decisions to make. You did not know what the outcome perhaps would be, but you had the discipline to, let's say, remove your emotions from the equation and make that decision. Could you give us some examples of that?
See, firstly, I must mention how discipline was inculcated in a person like me and other Fauji's also. The full credit must go to the NDA and IMA training that we got. That is where we learned toughness of body and mind. We learned of the basic routine that must be followed in the forge. We learned how to obey instructions from these senior people. We learned resilience. We learned all those qualities that one needs in the forge. And the kind of discipline that we were inculcated, of course, is related more to the forge. It may not be exactly related to the other vocations. And those stayed with you. And as you grow up, you are not only teaching others, now you are also, that self-discipline also comes. And so I would say the basic factor probably was being able to deal with uncertainties. That's one thing that you learn over the years.
That you frame that as a discipline.
Yes.
Okay.
That comes as a discipline to be able to cope up with the uncertainties.
नहीं पता क्या होने वाला है, but we have to deal with it.
You do not know that. And we had thick fog of war in the first 15, 20 days.
We didn't even know who we were fighting.
We didn't know who they were and where were they located. They all came behaving, wearing clothes and behaving like jihadis. And everybody, including the intelligence agencies, they told us that these are jihadis.
Wow.
These are not Pakistan Army. And we got to know that these were Pakistan Army people only after, say, about 15, 20 days, when we had solid proof in front of us.
Right.
And the Prime Minister, even after that, also was not suspecting it. And he sent one of his interlocutor to Islamabad and who asked the Prime Minister of Pakistan कि ये क्या हो रहा है? And the Prime Minister of Pakistan replied कि मुझे नहीं मालूम कि क्या हो रहा है. That kind of a reply he gave to him.
Interlocutor was sent and was told to basically ask the Prime Minister of Pakistan what is going on, and he said
he didn't know.
He didn't know. And we believed that?
No, obviously I did not believe it because by this time we knew, we had solid proof of the people who had intruded in our territory. They were all Pakistan Army soldiers. We had solid proof in terms of weapons, equipment, documents, and pay books, etc.
Letters.
And people who got killed during the first few days from their side. And so we had solid proof. But, I think for some time, the intelligence agencies and the political leadership, having signed Lahore Declaration, they were in doubt. And it was my persuasion that, look, we will have to conduct in a manner that these people are Pakistan Army people. We have a different rules of engagement when you are fighting a militant who may be one of your own citizens.
Yes.
And when you are fighting against the Pakistani Army.
Yeah.
So initially, during that thick fog of war, because everybody said these are jihadis, so people were trying to follow rules of engagement as you
usually do.
In
UN convention, etc.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when we were able to tell the cabinet that, look, we are facing, so that is the time when we got permission to use heavy weapons as well as Air Force. And so things changed after that.
Things changed. I'm glad that you mentioned this because I actually had the chance to go through some chapters of your book. I mean, I can show it to viewers. Kargil, from surprise to victory. The general himself wrote it, General VP Malik. And there's a part of that that I really like. It's an honest, almost, one could call it a confession, but it's also setting the stage for responsibility in a way in which it may not be a confession. So you can clarify on that. You say in chapter 4, which is titled The Dark Winter, the primary responsibility for providing intelligence about a likely military attack rests with RAW, the Research and Analysis Wing, RAW as we know it, and the JIC, the Joint Intelligence Committee. What were you trying to say when you wrote this?
See, we have 3 major intelligence agencies, I would call them. One is RAW,
right,
that you just now mentioned. The other is IB,
Intelligence Bureau.
Intelligence Bureau. And the third is military intelligence.
Right.
Now, military intelligence, their capabilities are limited.
Right.
And their capabilities lie very close to the international border
Right.
because of the limited capability that they have got.
Yes.
And all along the border, or LOC, in this case, or LAC.
Yes.
So what is happening on the other side in the adversary country, the kind of preparation, the kind of mindset, they are supposed to give you an assessment.
Right.
And in none of those assessments before Kargil War did we have any intimation that, or any information that this may happen. In fact, categorically, if I recall, one of the assessment was that Pakistan is not capable of carrying out any offensive action,
Such as Kargil.
such as Kargil. So that had been ruled out. And so when I'm describing in this book, and one must try to be objective as possible. And I'll give you
appreciate
another
that.
incident.
We appreciate that.
No, I'll give you another incident which I have mentioned in the book. See, when I first told initially we were told that these are 70% militants and jihadis, and only 30% maybe Pakistan Army regulars.
I want to make a distinction here for our viewers because it's not easily understood by the common man that there's a difference between a jihadi and a militant. A militant is somebody from our own country,
That's
and a jihadi is somebody who is
Come
from the other
outside,
country.
yes.
Please
You
carry
know.
on. Yes.
So what the assessment was, initial assessment toward the end of May, was that these are 70% militants and jihadis, and only 30% may be regular army personnel. And that I challenged in the Cabinet Committee of Security, and I said, look, this is not all the proof that we have now got, and I'm talking of toward the end of May. I said, all the proof that we have got, it shows that these are all Pakistan Army personnel, and there are no militants or jihadis. And the secretary in the National Security Council Secretariat, he was told by the Prime Minister, okay, what do you have to say about it? And he said, sir, give me a few days and I will come back. So after a few days when he came back, he said, yes, earlier we thought that these people are 70% jihadis and militants and 30% regular army. Now we think the other way around.
Wow.
That these are 70% are Pakistan Army personnel.
Right.
And I nudged him. I said, look, even that proof we do not have. To my assessment, there is no jihadi, no militants, etc.
Okay.
You know.
So you were even doubting that the 30%.
Yes, I told him that.
Okay.
And he quietly told me. He says, "कि यार इनकी भी तो लाज रखनी है." I have mentioned it in the book, so I can say that.
That's fantastic. There's a part of it that really stuck out for me. The heads of the Research and Analysis Wing and the Intelligence Bureau fell into a pattern of reporting directly to the Prime Minister and the Home Minister, and assiduously looking after their respective turfs. They developed a tendency to work more vertically and less laterally. Even the Military Intelligence Directorate became complacent when it came to providing feedbacks and attending the GIC meetings regularly at the appropriate level. The reason you're saying this is because you're effectively pointing to the fact that there was no parallel communication happening between these different agencies. Now, this isn't exclusive to India. The US failed in stopping 9/11 for the exact same reason, that even though there were certain agencies that knew about certain activities, they didn't communicate it to other agencies, and therefore there was no collective gathering, collation of information. I don't read this out for any other reason but to understand what is the lesson on discipline that you got and the army got and the agencies got from this failure.
Look, the highest intelligence assessment body in our country is Joint Intelligence Committee.
Yes.
Okay. And in that committee, you have representative from all intelligence agencies.
Yes.
The ones which we have mentioned earlier,
yes.
and even the other ones also. And they make out an assessment and pass it on to you. Unfortunately, I think this came out in the Kargil Review Committee or their book also. Committee had mentioned that the JIC was not functioning effectively, and it was not meeting regularly. And in that, even the rep from military intelligence many times was not attending it.
What were the reasons? Were there simple disciplinary reasons? Were there lack of system protocol? Was there other priorities on their mind? I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to say that what's the lesson we can...
The point is that when you have a procedure, a process, and you start neglecting it, it is lack of discipline. After all, these are orders, these are rules. When you disobey those rules or do not follow those rules, I would consider that to be lack of discipline.
When these rules are not followed by the army or, subgroups of the army, let's say, there is accountability?
Yes.
In this situation, when there's an intelligence failure of nearly catastrophic failure, right? When it is a collective failure, then how can there be accountability? Is it easy to do that? Is there a lack of discipline in putting out accountability?
Look, I've just, the fact is that military intelligence was our rep.
Right.
But the accountability is in the JIC.
Everyone's, yes.
Okay. So the fact is that now while I'm mentioning all these aspects in the book, I'm only trying to be as objective as possible.
Yes.
So I pointed it that
Right.
out. Okay. And it was noticed by us subsequently that this is where things are going wrong. And we corrected it immediately.
What
after that.
change happened?
Well, in the intelligence organization itself, we changed some people.
Wow.
And we made sure that they attended these meetings.
That is accountability.
That is,
Yes.
and also, as part of the recommendation given by the Kargil Review Committee, they formed the intelligence agency at the ministry level also.
Okay. For direct communication.
For the direct
cleaner
communication,
communication.
yes.
Fair enough. These are questions I ask, sir, because they set the stage of the kind of high intensity, thinking rooms you've been in, where you've had to make very difficult decisions. But the audience that is watching this, hopefully, are people in everyday life. We're trying to, surface this point about discipline, so important. And if it is not followed consistently, categorically, really, then there will be such failures. Obviously, at a much
And
lower.
they become lessons, They
become lessons.
So my aim of writing this book was to bring out all the lessons, good, bad, indifferent, all those things that came
Fantastic that you did that, sir. Let me ask you this. How did you teach yourself discipline, or did the army?
Well, let me first say that, discipline varies from in different vocations.
We mentioned.
The kind of discipline that you need in the armed forces is slightly stricter, much stricter than you will find anywhere else. And I followed discipline. I didn't get much of punishment when I was under training. I mean, I did get a few times, but
Would you like to tell us about one?
I lost my identity card once, so
Right.
I was punished for that.
Okay.
Now that kind of a thing happened. But the point is that as you grow up in your career and start commanding the people, in my battalion I was always considered to be a very strict disciplinarian, And my aim was not only to correct that person who had committed some wrong thing, but also to send a message to everybody else that, look, don't do this kind of a thing again.
Fair enough.
So it was both to that person,
Yeah.
so that he gets corrected, but also for everybody else to learn that this is not the.
I asked another army man this casual conversation. I said, what is discipline in the army like? He said, well, there are two forms of imposing discipline. There's love and there's fear. And the army uses both.
Yeah.
In that context, I want to ask you, discipline is effectively, or at least it sounds easier, inside the army, where there is a routine, where the consequences are actually imposed and they are catastrophic at a national level if they are not imposed. But in an ordinary person's life, how do you manufacture discipline when nobody can punish you? There is no punishment for a lack of discipline in most ordinary life. Sure, there's your professional company that you're working for, a salaried person, your wife maybe, life in general might discipline you. But how do you do it for someone like that?
Firstly, discipline starts from the time you are at home as a child. The parents tell you that be obedient.
Right.
Obedience comes there.
Yes.
Parents tell you what is right, what is wrong. Parents tell you what kind of manners you should have. Respect the elders, things of this nature.
Yeah.
So that is also part of discipline.
Absolutely.
And then from there you go to schools or colleges or wherever.
Right.
And as I said, when you are part of any institution or any organization, it requires a certain amount of discipline. It may not be as strict as we had in NDA, but wherever you are. Now, if I have seen so many companies in the corporate world. So every company has got its own culture,
Right.
and discipline is part of that.
Okay.
You know, you cannot, if there are certain compliances required, you have to comply with that.
What have you learnt about that after leaving the army? You were an ordinary person.
Yes.
You know, you could speak about, you know, discipline for an ordinary person, getting that haircut, you know, just waking up on time, waking up, making your own bed, you know, doing the chores of discipline.
Right.
What changed for you once you left the army, and what could you say now about it?
Well, coming from my army background, I do find that in the Gen Z, for example,
Yeah.
that kind of discipline is not there, you know, and you have too many loose cannons, therefore. Without discipline, where you conduct yourself, you behave yourself in a controlled manner, if it is not there, then you become a loose cannon, you know, and then the institution which you are part of, or a society that you are part of, that suffers. So it is important for everyone, whether, I mean, I'm talking about now in civil vocations and as a citizen, that you must have. For example, if you require cleanliness around your house, it cannot be left only to the government.
Right.
You have to do your bit also.
Yeah.
Now that also becomes part of, you know, responsibilities, and we mentioned about the accountability and all that. That also is part of
Fair enough. Let me ask you a slightly twisted question. Which part of military discipline did you want to deliberately unlearn after you left the army?
You know, I had to learn the civilian way of on punctuality, for example. You know, so many.
You mean lack of punctuality?
Lack of punctuality. You know, so many times we went to weddings or some other events where most of the crowd was civilian, and you reach there on time,
Yeah.
as per our old discipline from the armed forces, and you found even the hosts were not ready.
Yeah.
You know, and after so many events that we attended this way, then we realized that there is no point in going on time.
Yeah.
And you should go after some time. I mean, I still feel that it's not a good thing to do. But then, you know, you asked me this question.
This is social culture now.
This
sir.
has become.
Delhi is labelled for it more than anything.
Unfortunately.
I don't know about Chandigarh.
No, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's everywhere.
Okay.
The only thing is, I found, you know, I've been an independent director with a Japanese company.
Right.
So
Oh, wow.
there I found they were very strict about this thing, and a good thing that way.
Yeah, they are unbelievable.
Yes.
It's something else.
That's
what they
right.
have managed.
Punctuality.
Yeah.
So we were discussing punctuality, and that weakness in punctuality, I think it's a major problem in our
So
society.
you effectively had to learn how to go late. That's hilarious.
Embarrassing though, but
But it's true. You're the man who has led and been in charge of the world's biggest on-ground army, right? What is the harshest punishment that you've ever given out to a particular soldier, officer, army man, woman, and then later regretted it?
I don't think I gave any wrong punishments, you know. But I remember once as a commanding officer, I had to punish 2-3 NCOs because of drinking brawls that they got involved with, and that also with some officers. So I had court-martialed them within my authority, summary court-martial, and I wanted them to go into jail for a few months, and then in any case be discharged from the army. And that punishment was reduced at a higher level, and so that, you know, I thought myself whether I did the right thing or wrong thing, what it was. I don't regret what I did, but maybe I learned that that kind of a punishment should not be
Meted out.
meted out.
But the fact that the initial punishment was labelled so, that they would be court-martialed, be removed from the army, sent to jail, which didn't actually happen eventually, but initially the fear was there. Did it, in your opinion, improve the person, or did it only establish your authority?
No,
Or persons in this case, yeah.
you see, those persons were in any case, they were taken away from my battalion.
Right.
So as far as that part is concerned. But my being a strict disciplinarian, that message went to the command, you know, that I will not tolerate these kind of things. And I commanded my battalion very successfully for almost 3 years, you know. And it just made me think that what I did was the right or wrong because that punishment was reduced
Yeah.
at the higher level. It's a lesson that one learns during.
Yes. I think there's a particular story, if I can remember it correctly. You can help me out. There was a particular soldier who would be behind a battalion, effectively, with a stick, so that none of them turned around and went back, and they kept moving forward. And the idea was that do not be scared, and if you are, discipline is waiting for you, and you're going to still have to keep fighting ahead. In that context, I think the question is between discipline and courage. If discipline allows frightened people to continue fighting or performing as they're supposed to, have we, as a culture, society, media, whoever, exaggerated the importance of courage?
No, here what plays a very important role is the team, okay, and a team and the team leader. And by and large, you will find that somebody who's trying to lag behind in the kind of situation that you have pushed, the comrades will push him up, okay, and the leader will probably not expose him right in front, keep him there.
Yeah.
But that plays a very important role. And the fact is that you try to run away from that situation or to, not just laggard, but try to run away from that situation, you will be court-martialed. That is discipline. But by and large, you don't see that kind of situation, very maybe a rare situation of that nature. We did not have to court-martial anybody during Kargil War, that he ran away from this.
Yeah, I understand. Again, another conversation with another army officer, very interesting thing. He said that there's a bit of a balance. You have battalions, regiments, and depending on the culture of each regiment, they have different degrees of courage institutionalized into the culture. But at the same time, you have a situation where, let's give an example. I think that'll help. You have a particular regiment, let's say the Sikh regiment, known for its valor, known for its courage. Now, if you have a courageous person, you also have the potential that they'll be courageous in every aspect, not just in war. They'll be courageous to jump off the walls of the army boundaries and go and meet, or go and eat something, meet someone, break the rules because of that same courage. Where do you draw the line between making sure that courage is honed, but at the same time, it's disciplined when it's going overboard? Because if you discipline a courageous individual who's courageous naturally, then they lose a little bit of that courage.
Yeah, it does happen. In the units also, in every unit it happens that somebody carries out something which is daring, not the normal discipline, but
against orders.
Against orders, he does that. And so when you have to punish the chap, discipline must take its course. And so sometimes you might be less strict in the punishment.
Yeah.
And so that time, you say, okay, after all, in the armed forces, you do require courageous people, and you require some people who start doing out of the box.
Yeah. And let me ask you, your at the NDA level, at the IMA level, what has more value, discipline or courage?
Discipline has more. At the level of NDA, when you grow up, then you realize, because then you are now running a team, and in the team there will be people of different levels of courage and all, so you will be able to differentiate at that place.
There are no stories of discipline that won us the war in Kargil. There are more stories of courage.
As I said, courage also is part of discipline. The way these people went up on those heights, despite all the challenges, and that they. Now, it was both, right from the beginning I said, it was both courage, of course, valor, courage, bravery, everything you can, as a teamwork, camaraderie, but it was discipline that put them together and that make them behave the way we wanted them to be, conduct themselves.
Fantastic. I'm going to do a rapid fire. It's one word.
Okay.
The word that comes to your mind the moment I say the word. Okay?
I can't take 5 seconds.
You can take 5 seconds. We'll start now. Okay? The first word that comes to your mind when we think of Fear.
I think everybody has it, but it's only the level that difference and situation. It may be different.
1962.
Yeah, unfortunately, we were not prepared at all, you know. So I will remember that war only for the kind of neglect that the armed forces and the intelligence agencies and others. So I'll remember that war for that reason.
Ladakh.
Beautiful place. I love it. I love the people, and I've done many tenures there. And in my view, everyone should visit Ladakh.
I've
and
been.
Get
It's
to
so
see.
stunning. It is so stunning.
that's
It
right.
just blew my mind.
Yes.
I think I was stunned, truly stunned. Routine.
Routine is necessary. It's good for health. It's good for to be able to do things in a sequential manner.
Got it.
You don't waste any energy.
Okay. Obedience.
Yes, as long as what you think is right, you must be obedient.
Fair.
But if you think something is unfair, then you can question.
Doubt.
There will be doubt in everybody's mind. Now it depends on your experience.
Tololing.
Our first victory during Kargil War. So I will remember it as a turning point of the war.
Musharraf.
May have been a good commando, but not a strategic leader.
Sacrifice.
One is always prepared to do that when you are facing the bullets, when you are going up. So our boys who went up, they were prepared for sacrifice. And although it doesn't mean that one should go and straight away, but mentally one has to be prepared when you join the forces.
Right. Young soldiers.
Very important. They are the ones who fight. Because most of our soldiers who died, they were all very young, and similarly our young officers, they are the ones who won the war.
Retirement.
Well, everybody retires at a certain rank, a certain age, and but I believe that after retirement, one should continue to be active in whichever field that you can be and you like to be.
I cannot believe that sir is 86 and the way he's walking around makes me feel like I'm older and he's really rocking. What's the one word that comes to your mind when you think of the word regret?
Well, sometimes one has to regret that why didn't I do something like this, So many times I keep thinking that although we were told not to cross the line of control and international border, and I did mention it to the Prime Minister. So sometimes that regret is that I may have been able to do something which was possible at that time and may have been able to convince the Prime Minister also.
So your regret is that you didn't cross the LOC and could not convince the Prime Minister?
Yes.
Wow.
We did discuss it over 2-3 meetings, and ultimately I had to agree to what we was.
Okay, why? Because
I did not want to agree because I felt that we have lost so many people ourselves, and we should teach them a good lesson. And therefore, I was reluctant to when he said, okay, should we have a ceasefire? And I said no. But subsequently, when 2 meetings we had, third meeting he explained to me. He had many other questions, casualties, how much time, all that. We discussed that. But finally, I saw the larger picture that if we continued at that time, perhaps we would have lost the international support that we were getting. That was a major factor.
So it's not a regret as much as it's like a feeling. Huh?
Yeah,
It's
you
like,
can call it.
I get it. I understand. Okay. Dr. Ranjana Malik, your wife, what's the one word that comes to your mind?
Life partner?
There's a discipline in not being the aggressor that India has followed as a matter of foundational principle when it comes to particularly Pakistan. I mean, is there any greater discipline that India has shown in the international eyes?
I don't think this kind of a thing is relevant in geopolitics and the geostrategy also. Yes, we did have a policy of restraint earlier, and even after 26/11, when Bombay episode took place.
The Mumbai terror attacks, 26/11.
Yeah, I think the armed forces were keen to go across, but it didn't happen. So yes, policy of restraint, but I think policy of restraint is not a good strategy.
Any longer, but at that time it was?
It was being followed that way, and it was done, I would say that almost till 2014. Even Kargil War, we showed restraint, We had a policy of restraint. Of course, the reason given to me was that we have carried out nuclear tests, and therefore no country wants to support us initially.
I mean, both countries were nuclear armed.
I know, but both countries had become rogue nations in the world. All the Western nations were. So we were following policy of restraint, but that policy got changed after 2014, because you see, a military strategy cannot be only on defensive. It must also follow offensive action. Our strategy is complete only when you have capability to both defend as well as to carry out offensive. And that is what is now being followed. Whenever something has happened, there's major terrorist action that have taken place, we have retaliated,
strike, etc.
and we have sent the lesson on the other side.
Yeah. No, I mean, we could talk so much about that. But I just want to go back to one word for one word that I speak out. And there are just two words there. Kargil.
From surprise to victory.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's written out here. India.
Great nation, great potential. We need to continue working hard, and we should also try and improve the systems which have caused problems, like you've seen, the educational system. So we should focus on governance and these kind of systems.
It's a very complicated country, India, and to lead it and solve those problems through governance or otherwise, through political measures, even if you have the political will and the public support, best case scenario, is still very difficult. Are we lacking in discipline as a country, as people and government, to make those changes, simply because we're just not disciplined?
It is a great country, and it's so diverse, so it becomes a big challenge for anybody who is ruling it. But my own feeling is that now we are getting far too involved in politics and winning elections, and we are paying less attention to governance part.
Isn't that the nature of the beast, that vicious cycle, that if you don't win an election, then you can't govern? So then you have to focus on
winning. But
winning.
there is a certain amount of imbalance that has already come about. You don't find many capable leaders in other political parties. You don't find they have the will or the resources to be able to these things. So there is an imbalance which has come about. So all I am saying is that, look, winning the election is important for you to get into the chair.
Yeah.
But thereafter, you have to make sure that the governance enables you to come back, and not these resources and nothing.
I understand. I mean, we could talk politics, but we're trying to focus the conversation on discipline. And for that reason, I'm going to ask you for a story. Who was the most disciplined soldier you commanded, whose name never appeared in citation?
There was one incident in Southern Glacier in which there was a daring action, and that was led by two officers. They were from the Rajput battalion, and they captured a feature where we managed to kill the officer there, and I think about 10 or 11 persons. And subsequently, when I got to know about it much later, I felt that this chap, Chima, he deserved a high commendation from maybe a Mahavir Chakra or somebody. And I think we missed out on that. And the system that, wherever his recommendations and all these things happened in that procedure. And it didn't come to my notice at that time. But subsequently, I looked back and I said that, look, we have missed out. And there may be some other also. But this person, I know because of the achievement that. And I keep mentioning it off and on, even in the social media.
Right. This is a question that's, whenever I've left teams, it's something that I've debated in my own head.
They have been told this is what you have to do, and then they are doing their job. Until they raise their hand, I will not interfere.
I'm glad you mentioned this. When Kargil happened,
Yes.
You were waiting patiently
Yes.
for the forces that you had deputed in the area to try and take critical parts
Yes.
of those areas which had been either taken by the Pakistani elements or they had oversight over or control over. But you didn't interfere. How much discipline did that need from you?
Well, it becomes part of your nature. As I said, empowerment. It's something that I have learned. Delegation of responsibility.
Right.
And once you have given that, now Kargil War, I remember taking the GOC-8 Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
He flew with me, and I took him. I said, look, from 1st of June, this responsibility is yours, and I want you to. And as we were talking to each other, he said, sir, I'll need a few more days to prepare myself. I said, yes, I'll give you those prepare. And whatever you need, we'll try and get you that also. Thereafter, let me tell you, I did not interfere in his planning. I only learned from him what he was doing. I would ask him, okay, what is your next assignment that you are giving it to people? What's your next mission? But I did not interfere in their planning. At one stage, one brigadier, he kept attacking a particular feature, which they could not recapture. And we lost a lot of people. And that is the time, sitting in the ops room, I just told people, I said, yaar, usko bolo, okay, instead of coming from the west, let him come from the east.
Oh, wow.
You know? And that happened.
This is it depicted in the movie Lakshya? I don't want to belittle what
I
happened.
don't know that.
You don't know that. Okay.
But I mean, just that kind of a thing, just tell him, okay, instead of, that's not an order.
That's not an order. That's a suggestion.
That is a suggestion.
Yeah, that's a suggestion. Okay.
So otherwise, as I said, once I have empowered a person, I don't like to interfere till that person goes wrong.
So there's another scenario, which is that I know that you said that it's better to put something in writing than to shout. But there are scenarios where you need immediate action and you don't have time to write something. And therefore, the urgency of the situation demands the decibel levels to rise so that people understand the urgency. What do you do in those situations? Because army has high decibel levels when they speak to each other in general. Orders are passed at that level.
I must confess that it's not that I have never shouted. I have shouted, but I had to do that at a number of places during the war, At one level, even one of the GOCs or the brigade commanders, I had to tell them, of course, take them separately and
do it privately, not publicly.
Not publicly, that is one. And secondly, it was a controlled shouting,
Stern.
It was a controlled shouting while I wanted them to correct themselves, but I did not want to demoralize them and I wanted them to continue doing their job. So that is, that kind of a controlled situation. Again, it comes part of your discipline, really.
This is a tough one, perhaps. Was there a casualty during your career that made you privately question whether the objective was worth the cost?
No. There were moments where I felt very bad because we sacrificed too many people. But then I knew that objective was very tough. And I remember this triple pimples, there is a feature, triple pimple in Dras sector. And I used to see that and I used to wonder how will we recapture that. And but 2nd Rajrif did that, they captured that, and we lost that one night, we lost 3 officers and a number of men. I mean, that probably was one day, early morning when I got that report, I really felt bad, But then, after all, as I said, when you are fighting a war, you have to go on, and it's the resilience, not only at my level, but at the level of the whole army, that you have to continue fighting.
I mean, I believe that you used to wake up every morning and get a report of all the casualties.
Yes.
And that must have taken a traumatic toll on you also.
Yeah,
as much as it did on everyone else, but you hearing that every single day is really something. You've mentioned this in the book, but there was this persistent story that circulated during or after Kargil regarding a journalist, Barkha Dutt, and whether certain actions had revealed certain positions. You've rejected the claim in your book, but could you elaborate and explain what happened, and was there something to do with, let's say, the discipline that journalists can learn about it and the army can learn from those incidents? Because it is the army that is allowing a journalist to be in that space, and the journalist who is speaking something out based on their observation. Could you give us?
Amitoj,
yes.
We are still learning lessons on that, and this was one of the major tasks that we had, how to project ourselves to the media and yet make sure that the media doesn't go wrong somewhere or gets wrong information from us.
We needed to win international favor.
Absolutely,
The narrative.
And also take an impression on the other side.
Yeah.
Now, initially I had called one of the very senior journalists to my office and I asked him, I said, can you please work out for me what should be our policy on this? And mind you, this is the first time that we were exposed to the televised war.
Yes, because this was the first televised war for India. Yeah.
So he gave me certain steps that we should go about this way. And from Srinagar to Leh, there is only one road,
Yeah.
which is followed both by the civilians as well as the armed forces, as well as anybody else. But the fact is that, so you could not control the traffic on that road
Yeah.
amongst the civilians. Initially, we took the journalists, we took them from Srinagar, we took them to Kargil, we gave them briefing and then we brought them back. But then we noticed that some of the journalists would drop out en route.
Oh, wow.
And somebody would say, okay, my father, brigadier, or so-and-so, and they would go to the mess somewhere along the road only because most of the deployments were along the road.
Yeah.
And, then they would ask people, kya ho raha hai, ye ho raha hai. Some of the journalists who were, would ask a Jawan going somewhere, and then they put out that story without getting the, larger picture in their mind. So Barkha Dutt and these others also, they went like that. And, of course,
I mean, journalists are literally taught to do that. That to
Yeah, that's right.
not follow a convoy that is controlled by, in this situation,
is what
the army.
started happening.
Yeah.
When this started happening, I raised my hand. I said, okay, let them go whatever they want to.
Okay.
But don't let them climb up to the place where the fighting is taking place. Now, but as I told you, a lot of artillery, a lot of our these multi-barrel rockets units, they were all deployed along the road.
Right.
And that is how Barkha Dutt was able to get those
As
pictures.
were others. There were
And
several
many others
journalists.
also.
Yes. Her name just
Yeah,
pops up
that's
a
right,
lot
because
more.
she had. So after the war, I called Barkha Dutt to my office, and so as she came, I shook hand with her and I told her, Barkha, I don't know whether to praise you for the kind of reporting that you have done or to tick you off because you gave away some information. So she had no idea, and my this thing. She says, what, sir? So I told her, I said that you literally gave away the day we were to attack Tiger Hill and the HR also.
Inadvertently.
Inadvertently. So she told me that, sir, I was there and I could see all the preparation that was going on. So I was able to mention that.
So whose fault is this?
Now, I believe that this kind of information should not be disclosed.
Sure.
Sure.
Okay. Fair enough.
Although...
She's joining the dots.
yeah, that's right.
But she's doing her job as a journalist.
That's what I'm saying. So this is where a journalist has to use its own discretion.
Yes, but why was she in a place where she could join the dots?
She was.
No, but the army allowed her to be there.
Because we could not control them at that time. I told you the way these people were moving up and down. Now, when you are deployed on the road and some civilians are going to their villages or, they are going, how do you stop them? You just tell them, udhar band ho, udhar chale jao, udhar chale jao.
But you also needed them there because you needed the stories to come out, the reality to come out.
Look,
but this particular piece of
point
information.
is that both the journalists as well as the fighting machine, the armed forces, we have to work together. Okay, I give a lot of credit to the journalists.
You did, because you actually said in the book, I invited Barkha, who had covered the war commendably, to my office. I complimented her for her professionalism lightheartedly. I also mentioned about her letting out this classified information. But there was something else Barkha was more concerned about.
No, Barkha came and she said, sir, a lot of people are blaming me because of my reporting, the adversary was able to pinpoint our locations and then fire at them. Which I told her, I said, no, that is not right, because I don't think they have that technology,
the satellite phone
capability, satellite phone, etc., that they can intercept and also bring down artillery fire. I told her that. So I think she felt consoled. But yeah, I have mentioned this in the story. But let me emphasize, I mean, that's the reason why I put out that whole chapter on media and this thing.
Yeah.
All the lessons that we wanted to bring out. But unfortunately, after this, when 26/11 took place, people made the same mistake, including Barkha Dutt. You know, reporting that people are coming down from the parachute, from the helicopters and landing on the buildings. So again, I'm emphasizing the point that
Sure.
a certain amount of discretion is absolutely essential on the part of media.
This is presence of mind and discipline, because you're in the heat of the moment for both sides.
Well, call it discipline.
Yeah, you call it discipline. You can
Yes.
call it discipline, because it's like for the army, a soldier has to be aware of what to say, what not to say in a
Right.
particular setting, whether to shoot or not to shoot, to reveal your position.
Right.
It's similar to that in many
Yes.
ways. You can liken it.
No, people go wrong. But
They go
I'm just saying that unfortunately, the lessons that were brought out by me in this particular book also
Have still not been.
they were not followed. They were not followed during 26/11.
But I guess if journalists cannot be trusted to follow those lessons, then can the institution ensure that the journalists are not put in a position where their commitment to telling what they are seeing is coming under this strain that according to the nation, the government, they should not say this right now?
Look, we do carry out a lot of interactions with the media.
Right.
Okay. In the services, we do have many sessions
Of course,
where we call the media and we brief each other and we learn from each other like that. So again, as I said, this is an important aspect. You report something which is in the national interest, but something which is not in the national interest and which may cause casualties in a war like this.
Let me ask you this. There's an international journalist at 26/11.
Yes.
They don't have national interest.
So
You can't control that. They're not going to be discreet in that moment. My point is that the institution should perhaps think about, and I'm sure you've thought about it, I'm sure everyone has thought about it, that to create, and obviously 26/11 was an extraordinary event that was uncontrollable on so many scales. So this is not, anyone, hindsight, as we know, is easy to talk about. What we're trying to say is that what can we do in the future to ensure that this doesn't happen again? And that is a part of setting a protocol of discipline.
one of
for
the
such
things that
situations.
I have suggested in the book also, and that's unfortunately, it was not followed during 26/11. If you recall, during that time, we used to have two briefings, one in Corps Headquarters in Srinagar and one almost every day in Delhi.
Right.
Okay, and in Delhi briefing, we used to have JSX from the MEA, a representative from the Army, Navy and Air Force. And there they used to brief the people,
Yeah.
So if you have briefing of this nature and you are interacting with them and you are telling them something,
Right.
that time you can mention something, look, this is off the record. By and large, people will follow
No,
that.
I mean,
Isn't it?
but my experience is they do follow it.
Yeah. So, but aberrations will occur.
Yeah, aberrations will occur. That's fine. Yeah, we understand. I love that you have a chapter, sub-chapter called Decisions and Implementation. I will encourage the viewers, given this is the Decisions podcast, to see that. You had a closing kind of comment to make about how circumstances have changed.
Yeah, what I was telling you is that, there's a big change in the nature of warfare, and the way we conduct the warfare today. I mean, you saw Kargil War. I mentioned to you, primarily we won it because of the human resource that we had, and we did not have much technology. But Op Sindoor, you saw, so many years later, we managed to win because of our technology and capability. Human resource is still there, but human resource which was now tech savvy. And we did not enter their territory. The kind of missiles or the rockets that we fired or the drones that we used, the missiles were all from within our own territory.
Yeah.
So the warfare has now changed, and I think the media will have to depend more on the briefing that they get.
They
from
did
the armed
throughout
forces.
Operation
Yes.
Sindoor. They did depend on that.
And they cannot be on the spot. That's my, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. This is an interesting point because there are changes that are ongoing within the army structure. The Army Act of 1952, which, in a sense, makes an Indian citizen sign away certain rights of theirs when they join the army. I guess the question for you is, since your time, September 2000 is when you retired, now we're in 2026, and has the job of a commander become more difficult in terms of discipline from a command perspective? How have things changed? What is...
yes, it has. There's no doubt about it. And it is primarily because of the connectivity that we have today, communication system, and also on account of social media. And connectivity is because today a Jawan from the front line, he can manage to speak to his family. And similarly, they can also ring him up. And in our time, the Jawans or even the officers on the front line, they were not burdened so much with pressure from home.
They didn't have any phones. They were not pressured from phone.
You will be surprised, when I was posted in Mizoram way back in 68, 69, I used to get a letter from my wife every 25 days.
Wow.
And when all those letters came, because we were writing to each other every day. And when all those letters came, the first job was to open the letters and put them date-wise. Now, that was 69.
Wow.
And things have changed today.
Yeah.
So that is one, that communication system. People are watching TV. People are,
There's a scene from the movie Uri. I don't know if you've seen it. Vicky Kaushal is in it. And he has handpicked the soldiers that are going to take on the task with him, that he's in charge of. And the first thing he does is he asks for everyone's phones, and they're all put in a bag.
Right.
So, I mean, clearly things are changing.
So I'm just saying, but during peacetime, you don't.
You don't.
And social media is creating a big problem for the commanding officers.
Wow.
Because...
are they telling you that? You're hearing from them? This is your observation?
No. I mean, don't forget, my son is in the army.
Of course, I was coming to that. He's the deputy commandant at IMA.
And I continue to be honorary colonel of the regiment.
Of course, you hear.
So the point is that social media is also creating a lot of problems for them. There's a lot of rumor mongering. There's a lot of abuses.
Yeah, I'm very glad that you mentioned your son, because I was coming to that, and that was about your legacy. But I wanna wrap that up in a couple of different ways. Giving the example of someone like General Joshi. He started educational institutes for law, management, and catering, where army children can study. I think he's, perhaps you can correct me if I'm wrong, best known for the raising of the Rashtra Rifles unit. And then you, in your time, when you were at Staff College, you pushed syllabus changes and computerization. I want to understand from you that beyond Kargil, what you envision your legacy to be. I say this also in the context that your son, still in the army, still fighting the good fight, at the IMA, deputy commandant. What is your legacy in that entire context?
Look, firstly, I must mention that my son joining the army was his own decision. And when he told me that he wants to join the army, I told him, I said, I'll give you pros and cons, but the decision will be yours. And he did. And so there it is now. He's a major general, a very senior officer. And he's commanded the same, firstly in my own regiment, and secondly he's commanded the same division that I commanded.
8 Mountain Division.
8 Mountain Division, which is now in Kargil. And so, as far as the legacy with him is, probably he saw me at home, and the way I conducted this thing. But then thereafter, in fact, he was always very shy to tell people that he was my son. And I know of so many incidents where people did not know that he was my son. And then somebody told them that, even in Staff College when he was
But was that an instruction from you as a matter of discipline or something that he just
No,
imbibed?
it was his own decision.
Wow.
Yeah. I think I mean, I can make out that he wanted to stand on his own feet and did not want anybody to get an impression that. So it was his. Rashtriya Rifles has done a good job, particularly in the counter terrorism and counter insurgency operations, and they've been very useful. They've done great job, and we had some problems because we didn't send the right type of people. I mean, selected light of people for that.
Yeah.
But over the years, they have settled down.
Yeah.
And as I said, very creditable. In fact, my son, I must tell you, he commanded a sector, which is like a brigade. He did not command an infantry, he commanded the Rashtriya Rifles sector. So that was a good decision taken. The other thing that you mentioned about the institution that was started by General Joshi's time, you are right. But then thereafter, all the chiefs, even after me also, we all contributed to that. And all of us, we again established one or two more institutions, professional institutions.
I believe you also contributed to making sure that certain women.
Yes.
Why don't you tell us about that?
See, in fact, there were two young women who had lost their husbands. And they went and approached my wife. They said that, yes, they will be getting pension, they will be getting this thing, but they want to join the army and do something for the army as their husbands. They had both lost their husbands, young girls.
They had lost them in conflict, the two husbands?
No, different places. I'm talking of, I think, before Kargil War.
Right. This is.
So my wife told them the pros and cons again. And your family life, somebody has a child, one of them had a child also, that how will you be, you'll be posted all over the place, and then, but they were quite sort of insistent. So then she came and told me that this is what they're seeking, can we do something about it? So I thought in my mind, and as we were taking girls into the army, I spoke to the defense minister, and I was, one of those good moments, when he just looked at me, he says, "Haan, kar lijiye na," and I give him full credit for that. He's no more now, and so he said, "Aap bhar dijiye, isko kar dijiye," and that is how they got inducted.
So, given all of this, what would you term as 3 points of your legacy? Obviously, the Kargil victory. Beyond that,
No, one has been, like you mentioned, computerized warfare. We did not have many computers and all. I insisted in staff college, and first lot 60 computers came, and we distributed to various divisions and all that. So I have always believed that technology is important to be able to cope up with the changing warfare.
yeah,
And we all tried. I tried in my time to get better weapons, radars and all.
Yeah.
Some places I failed because the procedures that we have got. But subsequently we've been getting it.
Yeah.
Now we've been getting it more easily. The second important thing, which right from Kargil War, I kept on talking in public, telling people in public that we need to be self-reliant on weapons and equipment. During Kargil War, we had tough time because we could not import anything at all. And at that time, we were dependent on 70% of our equipment coming from abroad.
but what you're saying is already happening.
It is happening.
Yeah, we're becoming.
I had to
Self-reliant.
speak to Prime Minister, I had to speak to a lot of people. I'm not saying it is my effort, it is a collective effort. But this was one thing which I was quite convinced, and I went public on that, that we need to be more self-reliant than we are.
Indigenous.
In indigenous weapons and all. And the other thing that I did at my level, and I addressed the CII, for example, and I said, okay, look, our private sector must come into defense industry.
They're still not doing that enough.
Not enough, but they've come a long way now.
Fair. Yeah.
Things have improved a lot.
Yeah.
So this was something, again, I started, and I addressed the CII twice on this particular issue, told them what all they could do. And like in one meeting, I remember the defense minister was also sitting next to me. I wanted to make it very clear. So there are some things that I think every chief does try. I also did some of those things.
Sir, final question. I, for the life of me, do not understand how you at the age of 86 are still getting up, are with no higher, rank to earn, no superior left to impress, not even perhaps the wife left to impress. She's so impressed by you already. What really still makes you get up and do what must be done? Who or what are you still trying to be worthy of?
Look, again, it's part of army discipline. Okay. Uh, I do not want to become inactive, so I try to be as active as possible, and whatever I can do in my physical conditions. And so I have got myself involved in many NGOs work. I've been on the board of many directors as independent directors.
Right.
And so I now have given up a lot of things, but I continue whatever I can. And now the aim is only to contribute to the society in whichever way I can. So I managed to collect people, managed to get them to do some work and all. That gives me happiness, and I guess it also gives me satisfaction that people don't think that this chap has gone into hibernation and forgotten. The generals are supposed to fade away. My fading away has been slow.
From the entire team, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Amitoj.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.